Oh,
All right.
we're live.
Yeah, the wrong stream though. It's starting like a cargo stream. There we are. Still, still, still wrong.
We're live.
Wait, it's on a loop.
You can't. You gotta mute yourself on the Discord. You're gonna hear yourself all.
Okay, I think this will be okay. Can someone
Like the
check
first
it?
pancake. Always goes wrong.
Right. Can someone check the stream if it's all
Yeah,
fine? I cannot
Defcamp
check
has
it.
a little white underneath him.
Okay,
There we go.
but is it good?
Yeah, I'm just hearing an echo. I don't know if it's through Discord or what, but yeah.
There shouldn't be an echo anymore now.
Have you muted your stream?
Oh wait. Oh, that's why I have it on. I had Twitch open too. That's why. There we go. Okay, now we're good, baby.
Okay, so you have white under you. Is it better like this?
It looks.
Yeah, it will be okay. So, welcome everybody. So
What's up?
today we have with us Defcamp and Papa MooNN as last week. So we will be doing another class talk, and in this week's episode we will be talking about the Discipline Priest. And Defcamp has been playing a lot with the Discipline Priest lately, I think. I saw it on his stream, so we played a little bit of Shadow, but most of the time I saw him as a Discipline Priest in PvP. It was level 40, but we will talk a little bit about how it will play at level 60, I guess. So.
Yep.
First off, how are you guys?
Doing good. Ready for the summer vacation here in Denmark.
Okay.
2 weeks.
And Defcamp?
That's awesome. I'm doing great, man. I'm got a nice 3-day weekend. Had an awesome stream on Friday with the beta ending, and it was kind of sad, but it was kind of awesome too because it means we're that much closer to live. It's kind of surreal right now. We're 40-something days out, and I'm just gonna enjoy this next month. Kind of do a little bit of streaming here and there, and kind of get some stuff done that I want to get done, and it's right around the corner, man. Right around the corner. Literally,
That's true.
So close.
It's 43 days
43 days. Oh
to
my
release.
god.
Yeah.
So I actually missed the event Blizzard held on the beta. What did they do in the end?
They spawned Rag. It was pretty cool, right? First of all, we logged on, and a bunch of us started some world PvP. First off in STV, then we did Tower and Mill versus South Shore, and the Alliance were actually destroying us. That's when you showed up, Dunedain. I was trying to tell you that it wasn't
I
that.
saw that.
And then after that, we all went to Orgrimmar, and they started spawning some demons, and then they spawned Ragnaros, and then they had a bunch of Infernals and stuff, and then next thing you know, they closed off all of Orgrimmar, and it was just like server shut down, T-minus 10 minutes, and it was just everyone there. They turned some people big. They made me really miniature for a little bit, and they made me invincible for like 10 seconds, so nothing could kill me. They were just messing around. They had a couple of the GMs there, and it was just really fun.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So if I see it, well, I think the background is not working on the stream. So if it's not working, I might as well use the monitor.
It's
black,
not working.
right?
It's just black. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't show the video.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
maybe you should download for next time and
yeah.
just
We'll try that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Discipline Priest. So shall we start first with the PvP build? No, the PvE build maybe.
PvE build, yeah, for level 60 PvE build.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah,
want
so
to
this
go
is,
to Molten Core, Discipline is like it's one of the main specs for a priest. Is that right?
Honestly, for phase 1, I really recommend Discipline just because, especially if you're in a progression build, in a progression guild, and you're trying to progress through Molten Core, and it's your first time through. Listen, in phase 1, right, there's not a lot of gear available. I mean, you're gonna have some decent gear, some plus spell power, but Dire Maul is when you start to get a lot, better gear for like pre-raid. But there are some good things available. But with that said, you're really lacking in intellect, and that right there is just a huge reason to go down at least to mental strength to be able to survive and last long enough in fights. So right there is a huge factor for me to go down to mental strength. Because first of all, you don't have as much spirit as you would when you start getting your tier gear, right? So spiritual guidance becomes not that good of a talent in the Holy Tree. So if you don't have that much spirit and you don't have that much intellect, it becomes way more beneficial for you to go ahead and go down to at least get mental strength. So that's something that I recommend. So it looks something like this. You would put 5 points into Unbreakable Will.
Okay.
You'd go improved Power Word Shield, improved Power Word Fortitude. You could put 1 point into Silent Resolve to help reduce some threat. You would do 1 point Inner Focus, 3 points in the Meditation, 5 points of Mental Agility, so that reduces the mana cost of all your instant cast spells. So that goes for Renew, Power Word Shield, Dispel Magic, any of your dispels, which you're going to be dispelling a lot in Molten Core. There's a lot of fights where priests primarily your job, whether you're Shadow or Holy or Discipline, is to dispel on certain fights. That is more important than healing on some fights. So having that mental agility is really nice. And then, of course, 5 points in mental strength, and then 1 point into Divine Spirit. And then you can kind of, some people like to go Force of Will to help with farming. So all Force of Will does is increases your spell damage and critical strike chance of your offensive spells. So not your healing spells, only offensive spells. So this will help a little bit with DPS if you want to farm. You could, however, put points into Silent Resolve, Martyrdom, but you can go ahead and put, let's say, 4 points into Force of Will. And then I like to go Power Infusion. And the thing about Power Infusion for Discipline is it is a huge, huge help to your casters out there who also don't have a lot of gear and aren't doing that much DPS. So the main reason why fights are hard or harder, right, in the beginning is because fights are going to be lasting longer. You're going to be going through more of the mechanics. You're going to be, healing more, using more mana, and the longer the fights, the more mana you use, obviously, right? So if you can shorten that fight in any way, that's a huge bonus. So if you have 3 or 4 priests that have Power Infusion, you're able to give that to your mages, your warlocks, whoever, and just increase their damage by 20% for 15 seconds, which is huge. Or you can use it on yourself to increase healing, which I would say is, definitely less beneficial as giving it to a DPS. But in phase 1, Power Infusion is so good to have. It's amazing. And I really think this spec, especially before you start getting a lot of your tier 1, is definitely the way to go for me.
So you would put like 20 points in Holy now, right?
Yes, I would go. So a lot of people, depending on what you're doing, a lot of people don't like to get healing focus. It's very good in dungeons and things like that. If you're getting hit with AoE spells, to have that, a chance to avoid interruption. So a lot of people either go, and some people I know don't even use Renew. Now I like to use Renew. Sometimes it depends on your healing comp. It depends on who you're working with. Renew can be a very, very, very beneficial spell. It has a good HPME, but you really have to know when to use it and how to use it. But I would say you can go ahead, put 3 points in Improved Renew, put 3, 4, 5 points in Holy Specialization, depending how much you put in Healing Focus. Divine Fury, of course, Inspiration. This is one of your most important talents as a priest, and you want to try to keep. Now, on the Horde side, you and Shamans have talents like this, which increases the armor by 25% of the target when you get a critical strike. On the Alliance side, only priests have this.
Well, yeah, Paladins kind of can do
Paladins
the same.
have something like improved lay on hands, right, which can kind of help, but that's it's very different. And then how much time you can use it in this and the other. But Inspiration is just a huge buff. You should be trying to proc it as much as you can as a priest. I like to use lesser heal to proc it whenever I can before a fight or whatever, and I usually spam like a heal rank 1 on my target to make sure I'm proccing Inspiration as much as I can. And then I like to go ahead and put 1 point into Holy Nova, right, because this spec is actually a really good farming spec as well. So that's why you want to put those points of Force of Will if you want to as well. So yeah, I go ahead and put 1 point into Holy Nova, and then the rest would go into improved healing. And then, like I said, you should have a couple points left over if you want to put 1 point into or 2 points into Healing Focus, and put the rest into Holy Specialization. So it'll look something like 3120. That is my phase 1 build.
Would you probably go like 2 talents in Improved Mana Burn for PvP, or is that?
Well, if you're going to PvP, I would recommend doing a different spec. But you could say if you wanted to do a spec where you were basically you could, yes, build a spec where you're half, set for raiding and half set for PvP. So you could take some points out of Force of Will, that's the only place I would recommend taking points out of if you're looking to do some PvP. Improved Mana Burn is very nice, but if you're looking for survival and staying alive, improved Inner Fire is the way to go.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, and Martyrdom is also very good as well. Yeah.
So I'm thinking now that with the spec, how do you gain money as a Disc Priest? Do you make an alt to gain?
No,
or can you actually do something with it?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the best way to make money is not till phase 2 for Dire Maul. This spec and any spec, to do Dire Maul runs efficiently, you need to have at least 6k mana and a good amount of health. If you have a little bit less mana, you're going to need to have Power Infusion. So as a priest, you can go into Dire Maul around level 54 but you're going to have to use Power Infusion every pull. Now, before phase 2, it's a lot more difficult, right, to get gold as a priest. I do have some things I recommend, some things that you can do. There are some spots that you can farm. Some of them are a little bit more secretive than others. There are some good spots actually outside Blackrock Mountain where there are these little imps that are right around Blackrock Mountain. They have these little packs of them, and you can AoE them down. They actually have a pretty good drop rate of elemental fire. So that's kind of a little secretive thing that I've been using in some times before phase 1. Also, if you have the Force of Will, 4 points in that, and Inner Focus, you can kill mobs pretty easily. It's not going to be that hard. It's not like it's going to be that difficult to kill mobs. So it's going to be a little bit harder than other classes, right? That can just go into places and destroy mobs like a hunter or a mage. You're not going to be farming as much as that. But if you have Power Infusion, Inner Focus, Power Infusion and Holy Nova, you can round up a good amount of mobs, AoE them down. But like I said, it's you have to wait on that cooldown. The only other thing I really recommend doing, as much as farming goes, is you can make a lot of gold, and you're going to be doing this a lot, farming for your pre-raid best in slot in, say, Blackrock Depths, right? Pretty much, I'd say like 70% of the gear that you get in phase 1 for your pre-raid best slot comes in Blackrock Depths.
Wow.
Yeah, so I recommend doing a lot of BRD runs. You can get a lot of Elemental Fire in BRD. Remember, Elemental Fire, you need that for the fire resistance potions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a ton of stuff you can farm in Blackrock Depths with a group. Go with your guild. You can farm blues and sell them to vendors, or say if BOEs drop. I really like to do BRD as much as I can on off time to help gear other people, to help gear yourself, and while doing that, you can really get yourself some gold too. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's true that this is like the main spec for priests in Molten Core, right? So you take like 3 or 4 discipline priests, and then you take a holy priest as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so depending on your compositions, some guilds actually go full disc to help out with the DPS at first. What I like to do is, as you start getting more gear, you can start transitioning to what I call the Holy Hero spec, right? Which is basically, it's basically you go down to spiritual, you get 5 points of spiritual healing. So you would have what we talked about, all the same talents all the way up to improved healing. And you would put 5 points of spiritual guidance, 5 points into spiritual healing. So that's 30 points in holy. But I kind of like to transition into that. So what I usually do is I'll have, say 31 points into discipline, right? So that's the one you start off with Power Infusion. You can kind of go ahead and build. I actually do 3 different specs. So one would be the one we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Then I would do one where I just have mental strength and divine spirit. So that's 26 points in discipline. So as I'm transitioning with gear, as I start getting more tier 1, I start to get more spirit, right? So you want to kind of utilize that spirit, especially what you're getting from divine spirit, and turn that into spell power. So as you start to notice that the fights aren't lasting as long, and the DPS is doing a little bit more damage, you could take a point out of Power Infusion and take 4 points out of Force of Will, and then go ahead and get 5 points into Spiritual Guidance. This is something that isn't necessary. You don't have to do this, but it is very nice because you get more spell power, and you still have the benefits of having all that extra mana. And a lot of people say, is mental strength like that big of a difference? Is it, and I'll tell you something. When I was fully buffed, I would look at the priests who didn't have mental strength. They would have around 4.5k mana. This is fully buffed, right? And I would have around 5.2, 5.3k. So that's the difference between having mental strength and not having mental strength when you're like fully buffed. It can actually be a pretty big difference, and that's almost 1,000 mana. That's a good amount of heals, especially if you're using your heals very efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to try to keep mental strength as long as I can until I have at least over 5k mana or so buffed. And then once I have efficient mana,
so when would that be in the progress? Would it be in Molten Core or would it be in 1840?
yeah, definitely Molten Core.
Okay.
Yeah, in Molten Core. So you got to remember, like, you're not getting your tier 1 all at once. You're going to be getting piece by piece by piece by piece.
Mm-hmm.
You might get lucky and go ahead and get your tier 2 helm from Ani or your tier 2 legs from Rag, and that's a lot of because the amount of intellect from tier 1 and tier 2 is pretty similar. But you do get a good amount from the tier. So once, say you would have like half of your tier set, then I would go ahead and start transitioning into a different spec. But you really got to remember, like, when fights are lasting long, the main things you're looking at as a healer is plus healing and intellect, basically. How much you can heal and how much you can heal for, right? And spirit is also very, obviously good for priests as well. So those things right there are your main things you're going to be looking at. And if you're in a fight and your druid's giving you innervate, you're using mana pots, you're using demonic runes, and you're still before the fight ends. Fights like Ani, in the very first few times that you do them, you're going to be healing for a decent amount of time, so you want to make sure you have enough intellect to do so. But it doesn't take too long. After a couple weeks, your rate will start to progress better. You'll start to be clearing stuff a lot easier. So after those first few weeks, and it's not that long where I'm really going to be this discipline spec, because once you can kind of get through these fights without having to use all these consumables and all that, you want to transition to the Holy Hero spec because you get the most healing done with that spec.
So, and then we would have like
you would basically
5 like this. Yeah, you cannot see it yet, I guess, but it's 21 discipline, 30 holy, right?
Yeah, 21 discipline, 30 holy. So you'd have.
So that means you will not ever have Spirit of Redemption, or would you take it over Divine Spirit?
I never take Spirit of Redemption. Never.
No. And
I think it's pretty much
Okay, so you never go to Lightwell either.
No, never go Lightwell, never go Spirit of Redemption. That could be good PvP. I see a lot of pre-made sometimes use effect of Spirit of Redemption. Unlike in BC, I think in BC they actually added some static spirit to Spirit of Redemption.
Spirit, I think.
Yeah, and that you don't get that in vanilla, so it's not that good. You only get the added points after death, which in a raid scenario you could be soul, you could be either battle res, or they could have a soul stone on you or something like that. So it's really not that effective to have it. So
you said also that you basically require an interface early on as a priest. Is that right? Because lately I heard that druids are considering using it themselves because, well, basically they can use it as well and they heal pretty good. So why not use it themselves, right?
I understand that, and I understand the motive behind it, but when it comes to just the amount of healing that a priest can do in a certain amount of time over a druid, it's always more beneficial in my experience to give the innervate to a priest. Here's why, right? You have multiple reasons why. First of all, dispels. Druids, yes, they can remove curses, this like that, but there are a lot of fights where you're dispelling, off of a tank, especially in MC, where there's things like, reduces the amount of fire resistance, things like that. A priest dispel is always going to be more beneficial. Another reason is because, as far as main tank healing, priests have a very good, whether you're using heal rank 1, heal rank 4, greater heal rank 1, they have, first of all, they can proc inspiration, which is you want to try to keep that up as much as possible. That's another reason to keep innervate on the priest. Also, just the amount of healing they can do on a tank or to their main target in a certain amount of time is always going to be more beneficial than what a druid can do because of inspiration and things like that. So I would say most serious raiding guilds, their druids are pretty decent at conserving their mana, know when to heal and when not to heal, and most of the time you want to give your because as a priest, like I said, you're going to be using these blanket heals, like a heal rank 1 like a lot just to keep up inspiration on your tank, and it's very, very, very important that you can have the priest do that as much as possible. That's 25% increased armor. That's a pretty big
it's
buff.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say most decent guilds, their druids will know how to do it. That's right.
Yes.
But our guild might not be as decent because we take a Moonkin, and then the Moonkin will probably like to have innervate himself, right? Otherwise, he's even more useless. So I don't know. It's a hard decision, right?
It is a hard decision, right? Because that Moonkin, though, with that innervate, he could possibly keep the raid from dying. Now, as a Moonkin, you should be prepared with as much consumables as you can to give yourself mana, like mana pots and demonic runes and this and the other. But when it comes to, you got to remember, as a anytime when you're a balance, druid, or a we'll say, what the fuck, I can't even think of the word right now. Not a healer, not a DPS,
a tank druid.
No, I'm having trouble. My mind is going blank right now. What is a hybrid? Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Any hybrid class, Any hybrid class should know that it's not just about the DPS that you bring. It's not about this, that, and the other. It's about what you can offer to the raid. And sometimes, as a balanced druid, offering heals might be what you have to do. Offering dispels. Any hybrid class should go in there knowing that they're not just going in there as a DPS. You're going in there as a hybrid. A shadow priest. There might be some fights where you're not going to be able to keep up your shadow weaving because you may be needed with dispelling or help healing, this, that, and the other. Anytime you're going in there as a hybrid, I would say please have the mentality as you are going in there as a hybrid, not a DPS. You're going in there as someone who can offer other things that a pure DPS can't. Sometimes that's healing, sometimes that's dispelling, sometimes that's innervate, and you really have to kind of go in there with the mentality of, I'm a hybrid, not a DPS.
Yeah, that's something we talked about. I think in the last GMAs. I think we talked about it. Hybrids used to be more like hybrids before the class revamp, in my opinion, in Vanilla WoW. But yeah. So, Papa MooNN, is there anything you want to add on the spec? The PvE spec?
Not really. I think you covered pretty much everything.
How about the PvP side of it? I know there's
first. I noticed that you kind of like a priest, right? So what speaks to you when playing a priest? Why do you like it so much? Why do you like discipline, for example, as well?
For me, I kind of fell in love with priest. So my first class in Vanilla was a rogue, and it was a very selfish class. Even though there are some things you can do to help your group and help this, I very much learned early on that I was very much drawn to a class that can help others, right? Whether it's healing, whether it's buffing, this and the other.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah. So
just throwing out a buff to someone that's fun
just
to
throwing
me.
out a buff.
Yeah,
exactly. It feels like your presence is much more appreciated. You know what I mean? And even though healers can kind of go on as, especially druid healers, they're very much the unsung heroes, of certain battles and certain fights. And the first thing that goes wrong, they always heal, but in most cases it's not the healer's fault. But I really like that role of being someone who can help out in multiple ways, whether it's buffing, whether it's healing, whether it's throwing out a clutch fear or a dispel or this, that, and the other. And I love the tool set that priests were given with, right? So you have HOTS, you have preventative damage such as Power Word Shield, you have all these amazing different kinds of heals, AoE heals for your party. And I just really fell in love with, the style, a lot of the spells and how it was really implemented, and then the dark side of it as well. So like I myself, I feel like I have this dark side, you know what I mean? And that, I guess you call it fucking emo, whatever the hell you want, but it's like,
that's why you played Rogue first, right?
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. But Shadow was just like this ultimate, especially playing it as an undead priest, like this forsaken, like you've just kind of gone off the fucking rails and just, really put 100% into like the darkness and done all that. I just love the idea of this spec who has kind of two trees devoted towards healing and helping, has this one tree devoted towards pure chaos and destruction. And I fucking love that. And I love the RP of it. I love the feel of it. I think Shadow Priest is an amazing spec. I love how it is in PvP. and you just feel so badass and very much. And even you can still help, right? You can still have these buffs. You still have things like Vampiric Embrace that can help your group and help with heals. You still have things like Shadow Weaving. You still have Fortitude and Power Word Shield and Shadow Resistance. But at the same time, you're going to melt some faces, right? So it's kind of the transition that you have between those two, and I guess the juxtaposition, you know what I mean, of those two things next to each other. It's kind of really cool when you look at it like that. And I just fell in love with it, man.
The Fancy of the Priest is one of the better ones. Well, they are all very good, but I talked about it a little bit in my class video. I really like it, but when I play a priest, I used to play a priest back in the day. I played one as an alt up to level 40, 45, I think, and I leveled it in the Burning Crusade as a main. So yeah. I really played quite a bit of priest as a main character. But the Shadow spec, it never really spoke to me that much. As you know, I'm not that dark. You are, right?
You're a follower of the light, I know. And you know what's cool though is you still have like parts of that as a Shadow Priest. There's still certain things that shine to it, but I do feel like it's in essence its own thing. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, Shadow Priest feels a lot like a Warlock." Like an Affliction Lock or this and
different.
When you play an Affliction Lock, it is a lot different.
Yeah.
The play style, the feel of it, and it just has something very sinister to it and unique to it. Yeah, and I love that, and I really feel like the transition from this holy, devout light where you have two specs to this, and then all of a sudden you're a Shadow Priest, and when the first time you hear that sound of going into Shadow form, it's like so fucking cool, man.
But I don't feel like the Mind Flay gameplay. That's some I don't know. It feels a little bit weird. But I wonder, Papa MooNN, did you ever play something like a priest or a paladin or a druid or any healer class actually?
Actually, my first class in Classic was a warlock. I leveled up, and then BC came out. I decided to play priest, and I actually played priest through BC and Wrath.
Oh wow!
And
so we all played priest in BC. That's cool.
Priest was amazing in BC. I mean, let's give it Priest was so good in BC.
I love Circle of Healing.
Oh my god, dude! Circle of Healing, especially when it had no cooldown.
Yeah, but is it no cooldown on Illidan? I don't know if you played it.
Oh god, I did every raid.
Okay.
BC, so yeah,
that was awesome.
I really, and there were some fights too where like, an AOE instant cast heal was like I forget where it was. It was a heroic dungeon. At least I love heroics in BC. And there was one boss where you couldn't cast.
Yeah, that's true.
And and like just being able to have Power Word Shield, Renew, and like Circle of Healing was so cool. The only other class that could really heal that was Druids. It was Druids and Priests.
Yeah, you're basically screwed as a Paladin, right?
yeah. It was so cool. And I just love, and then of course it's when you got Prayer of Mending, which was amazing. I think Priest in BC was just Priest and Vanilla was awesome, but in BC it was really, really good, man.
Yeah, I always wanted to play Priest in Vanilla. I played the Warriors, and I wanted to have those buffs and stuff. But later on, I actually started playing Paladin, and I liked it even more. I guess the major difference to me is the DPS tree, actually. I never really played Protection that much, but the DPS tree, I rather swing a big two-hander than I cast Mind Flay. That's basically it.
Or use the wand, right? I want to say a big thing people overlook at Priest is just how amazing mind control is, okay?
Oh, yeah.
You can go into a dungeon and you can mind control an elite mob and do crazy amounts of damage. I mean, mind control is probably one of the most unique and just amazing fucking spells in the game.
That's so true.
Whether it's, going into Ubers and getting that fire resistance buff for your raid for Ragnaros, or going into a dungeon and clearing it solo to get to... I used to do it all the time. I would go to Alderman and go to the Enchanter Trainer and like level 40 or whatever and just mind control the mobs to kill themselves, run out, reset, do it again, and just go in there and soul the place and just AoE that one mob with the spiders, with Holy Nova, or the whatever they were, scorpions, and go in there and get the Enchanting Trainer and all. I think, mind control and, especially mind soothe as well. These kind of spells, mind vision, are just really, really cool, and they're just so unique to the class,
And mana burn. mana burn.
And mana burn, yes, mana burn. I think we showed. So I was doing another discipline spec at level 40. With what I did, I had. I took the points out of 5 points out of mental agility, and I went 3 in inner fire and 2 into improved mana burn. And I did power infusion. So I would do something like power infusion and then mana burn. And what I'm telling you, I could mana burn certain classes in 2 to 3 mana burns and have them with no mana completely. That's how I beat people like Esfand. I beat paladins, hunters, which is amazing because hunters always use Viper Sting, and be able to delete hunters mana for once is really, really awesome. Shamans, it's just if you can go on the offensive and basically use your mana burn as because the best way to do this is open up with a fear, right? And just mana burn them as quick and fast as you can, and have them on defensive from the get-go.
I saw you play it a little bit on the stream.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
If you
cool.
can do that to like any mana class, you will win. It's just absolutely insane how beneficial it is to open up with those mana mana burns, and you have the defensiveness of the improved inner fire as well. So it's awesome spec. I really loved playing with that. Yeah.
So I actually, whenever I watch a stream of you or anyone, actually, I start liking the class and I start doubting my own class. That's because we cannot play the game yet, I guess.
Yeah.
But something I really like about the priest, the PvP aspect of the healing priest or discipline priest is, in my opinion, a little bit more interesting than that of the holy paladin. Just to me, but in PvP I would rather play like Retribution as a paladin, but as a priest I really like the discipline style with the mana burn and the mind control and dispelling and all that kind of stuff. So shall we first go into the PvP spec maybe, and then later on go back to PvEing the gearing process and stuff like that? So okay, so let's check out the PvP spec.
So first of all,
before we begin, you said that Priest wasn't good making money before phase 2.
They're not. It's not that they're not good. It's that they're definitely not as good as say like a hunter or a class or a mage, right? But you can be pretty competitive. It's just the fact that you don't have a lot of the things that First of all, Dire Maul in phase 2. Is just very lucrative because of the AoE, but there are some places where you can make up for that, and I think for the most part there are other classes that are much better than getting gold than the priest. But I would definitely say the priest is capable of standing up on its own.
Would you pick skinning through the leveling process just to speed up the amount gold?
Definitely a huge possibility, right? I think this goes for like any class. If you plan on trying to make some extra cash, skinning can be a huge asset, and especially as a priest, as someone who's going to have more trouble than other classes, if you are planning on saying doing tailoring or enchanting or whatever, you can go enchanting, say make your 2 wands, lesser magic, greater magic, drop enchanting right after that, and then pick up skinning to make some gold until you get to level 60. That's definitely something I would recommend to someone who's trying to get gold as quick as they can, and at level 60 you can then swap into another profession. So even if you want to do the tailor enchanting route and go ahead and get your wands, you only really need it until the greater magic wand, which you can make at level 13, or you can use at level 13. Once you have that, you can go ahead and drop it and go pick up skinning. So I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people could add to make money. Absolutely, yeah.
So while we are at leveling, maybe would it be better even now with the newer wands and the 1.12 talents to go with the discipline build instead of a shadow build to level?
Well, 100% your first talents you should be using is improved one, right?
Yeah.
So especially now that you get to see, a lot of people would say go ahead and go Spirit Tap first, and I completely disagree with that, just because of how powerful the wands are. So let me put it in perspective for you. Level 10, you get your first talent point, right? At that point, you should already have a wand. You have a lesser magic wand. Level 10, you put your first point into wand specialization. Once you have that wand, you're going to be using Mind Blast and Power and Shadow Word Pain to pull, and everything after that is just wanding. Once that mob is dead, your mana will be full. So what is the point of having Spirit Tap? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the first 5 points, 100% put into wand specialization. Then after that, go into spirit tap. Now,
Okay.
a lot of people talk about doing discipline as leveling, and I understand a lot of people like it. You do get some added benefits like improved power word shield, which you really don't need while leveling. I've shown that sometimes using a fear rank 1 can be way less mana and just as efficient. I think personally there's more in the shadow tree that will benefit you while leveling, such as improved shadow word pain, shadow focus. Mind flight
Okay.
sucks, right? It sucks while leveling, but discipline can be used while leveling. But I do think shadow is more efficient.
So you would
So
pick the Shadow Word Pain over the Shadow Focus? That's right?
uh shadow no so you want to put well, depending on like how you're leveling, you can put the 2 points of shadow word pain first and then put about 3 points in the shadow focus.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
so you're saying disc for if you're gonna go like dual spec or dual leveling, and shadow if you're going solo.
Yeah, so and another thing too is like that's a really good idea, right? Go dual leveling with, because most of the time you're going to be just wanding and maybe throwing a couple heals or using some defensive stuff. That is a pretty good idea. But if people are worried about healing, you can heal just as good as, and like, going to a dungeon as a shadow priest is fine. You know what I mean? Like, the priest has so many amazing healing spells, and it doesn't matter if you have no plus healing gear. As long as you have some intellect, some spirit gear, you'll be fine in dungeons. You don't have to worry about having plus healing gear or having healing talents all the way up to level 60. Once you get to the 60 dungeons, this and other, it'll be absolutely more beneficial to be a holy priest or a healing priest. But as a shadow priest while leveling, you can heal dungeons 100% fine. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to go discipline to help, to help heal better or whatever. It's not going to be that big of a difference. You'll be able to heal fine just as a shadow priest. There are a lot of things that help, especially like meditation. That allows up to 15% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting. But if you have Spirit Tap, it's kind of, you get that 100% chance to gain 100% Spirit after killing a target. So you can, there's ways to work around, and, you want to have as much Spirit as you can while leveling anyway. Spirit's just great for all specs, Shadow and Discipline especially, while leveling. So I think, it kind of go with what you like better. If you don't like the idea of a Shadow Priest, you want to level Disc, go for it. You can do some decent damage, but I definitely think Shadow is the more beneficial spec while leveling, especially solo. Yeah.
Okay.
But you were gonna do leveling, right?
Well, I don't know how I'm going to plan on dual leveling, but so like one thing here, if you plan on dual leveling Warlock, you're going to be better off going Shadow, right? Because of things like Shadow vulnerability. Can't fucking say the word. And silence. For another thing is silence is an amazing tool while leveling. Vampire Embrace is also very nice in a group. So there are some cases where like discipline might be better, like maybe with a warrior or something like that, and then Shadow's definitely a lot better with a say a warlock.
Yeah, okay. Because
Yeah.
I heard that from what people tested on the beta was that the XP reduced from being in a two-man party and a three-man party wasn't that great compared to the private servers.
Yeah.
So it could actually be beneficial to get like a heal and just two crazy DPS and just go nuts through it.
Yes. Yes, it's so true. So another thing we were testing too is like, when if you tag a mob, right? Papa Moon say you do 5% of its damage or whatever, and then someone who's not in your party comes and attacks it, you still only get 5% of that experience. But if someone were to sit there and buff you and just heal you while you kill a mob, and you do 100% of the damage, you get 100% of the XP. So if you want to do something like that, where you have someone else who's standing there and just healing you and buffing you or whatever, they're not going to take away the XP, even though they're helping you kill that mob in essence. So for people who were worried about like power leveling, and back in the day, people were like, oh yeah, in a private server you can be a mage and use like rank 1 arcane explosion to tag all the mobs, and someone come in, swoop them in, and you would get like 100% of the XP or whatever. That's not going to happen in classic. So but as a healer, you can kind of get away with that, not being in the group, just healing the person, or even as a druid, and you give someone thorns, even though that thorns is doing damage and that was given to the druid, it still counts as damage done by the person. So
Okay,
Okay.
that
yeah.
goes that for the imp shield as well, the fire
Mhm.
shield.
Yep.
Okay.
So dual leveling really became a thing since Cargos talked so much about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before, I always thought it was slower. Actually, I played a little bit with a friend back in the day, but yeah, we didn't do it properly. So, right. Shall we go into
one quick?
Yeah.
I just want to
Sure.
ask how would I spec while dual leveling with
Yeah.
a rogue? With a rogue, it depends, right? I personally, I think in the PvP realm, I would go Shadow. Just because of how beneficial it could be to have, say, something like improved Psychic Extreme, to have Silence, Vampiric Embrace. Discipline could be good with improved Powered Shield, Inner Focus, things like improved Inner Fire and Mana Burn. It depends on if you're on a PvP realm or not. I personally would probably go Shadow, but I could see a lot of benefit to someone going Disc as well. Personally, I think that the damage and the CC that you would get from going Shadow would be more beneficial, especially on a PvP server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So shall we go into the PvP spec now?
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
do it.
So we start. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Unbreakable Will. It's an amazing, 15% additional resist to stun, fear, and silence effects. And then improved Powered Shield, improved Powered Fortitude. Now, Martyrdom, right? Martyrdom is amazing. It gives a 100% chance to gain the focus casting effect for 6 seconds after being the target of a melee or strike. I usually put 1 or 2 points in there. You could put 2 points in there. That means you will have to take a point out of somewhere else eventually. Some people will take a point out of like improved Powered Fortitude just because there's usually other priests in there or whatever. But I think you could go ahead and put 1 or 2 points in there now. It doesn't matter. I would go ahead and just put 2 for now. So
Okay.
from here, right? So you say you have mental agility, improved mana burn, and improved inner fire. So these are the 3 options you have. Mental agility is very, very good because it reduces the cost of your instant cast spells. But improved inner fire is very good in terms of defensive. And improved mana burn is really good in the terms of offense.
So
with a lot of priests.
Wait, we did take inner focus and meditation, right?
Inner focus and meditation. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
inner focus and meditation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. I'm sorry. Yeah, those are kind of like no matter what you're doing, those talents. Yeah. I mean, the 15% mana regeneration while casting is just one of the biggest pluses to being a priest. So that's why Spirit is so good for priests, also because of spiritual guidance. And the tier 2 set, the 3-piece set, also gives more mana regeneration while casting. This is why Spirit is so good for priests. That and Spirit Tap is that other, right?
Okay.
So what I would do here, right, is if you want to be more defensive and more offensive, you could just go ahead and skip mental agility and put 3 points in inner fire and improve mana burn. You are going to lose a lot of mana efficiency here, but you got to remember with that mental strength, you're also gaining a good amount of mana. So that's something that you could kind of say kind of it's like a plus, but it's also a minus because you're losing the benefit of mental agility, but you're gaining mental strength.
Yeah.
So so that's something that you could do. Honestly, I would say this, go with the spec that you feel more comfortable doing. If you're going in there in a pre-made and your main job is going to be dispelling and things like that, then you're going to want mental agility, right? Because you're going to be dispelling a lot in pre-mades. You're going to be dispelling fears. You're going to be dispelling, slows, dots, this and other. So mental agility can be very, very good in that encounter. So it really depends on what you plan on doing, on what kind of priest you plan on being. I would probably do something like this personally. I'd probably go ahead and get mental put. So I would do this essentially. I would put 1 point in martyrdom, right, instead of 2. I would put 3 points in improved inner fire. I would put let's see. Let me just work out the spec here. I would put, say, 5 points in mental agility.
Okay.
Okay, and then you could put 5 points in mental strength, 1 point in divine spirit. So you should have, 29 points
29,
right there?
yeah.
Okay, so instead of force of will, obviously, because you're not going to need that to be more defensive, you could go ahead and put 1 point in improved mana burn, and then put 1 point in Power Infusion, or you could put the other point in Martyrdom.
So you would not take Force of Will? Because...
No,
Okay.
because you're going to be more of a... Now, this is like looking at it as going into a pre-made, right? If you're going into a pre-made, your main job is helping your team, not doing damage. If you want to throw out a Shadow Word Pain every once in a while, that's fine. This spec is for primarily going into pre-mades, helping your teammates, and being essentially a defensive healer, right?
I see. Yeah.
So Force of Will is not a very good option here, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then you can go ahead full holy bonuses here. I would definitely recommend going Healing Focus, just because that gives you 70% reduction. Improved Renew. You can put 3 points in Holy Specialization for. That's what I would recommend doing, about 3. Holy Nova. Especially for rank 1.
So I'm missing something. I'm having 2 in Healing Focus, 3 in Improved Renew, and 3 in Holy Specialization.
Right, and then I'm sorry, I'm Divine. Sorry, put 5 in Divine Fury.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Holy Nova.
And then Holy Nova, and now here, this is where it might be a little bit different. So, I definitely recommend going Inspiration. Just because, I'm sorry, to the right there, Inspiration. Yep. Now, Blessed Recovery is okay. I only usually ever put 1 point in a Blessed Recovery.
Okay.
I don't know if this is from private servers or what, but getting that 8% is good. But usually, a lot of priests say that any more than that, if you go for the 3 points, 25%, it's not worth it. They always say maybe just put 1 point into it, put the rest into Inspiration, or you can put, of course, into Improved Healing as well. So what I would do is I would put 1 in Blessed Recovery, 3 in Inspiration into an Improved, and that's basically going to be looks like what your DPS. PvP spec. Now, of course, you can mix around a few talents here and there. You could essentially take, some points out of. If you're not worried about the defensive part of it, you could take a point out of Inner Fire and put it into Improved Mana Burn. If you think you're going to be doing more mana burns than getting hit. So what a lot of priests will do is once they get more geared, once they get more armor, you can take some points, or at least 1 point out of Improved Inner Fire and put that into Improved Mana Burn instead.
Okay. Mana Burn cannot crit, is that right?
Mana Burn can... Well, it does damage as well.
Okay.
The damage part of it can, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure, yeah.
But the mana part cannot crit, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is basically what my spec would look like at first. As I got a little bit more armor, I'd probably take Inner Fire and put it in Improved Mana Burn. And then a lot of it also depends on what you're going to be doing in that PvP scenario, right?
Do you take Holy Nova for farming, or do you actually use it in PvP?
Use it in PvP. Here's why. Okay, there's a lot of instances where you may be in the middle of a bunch of people, and you can get it off and get it. So if you want to tie it in with an Inner Focus and maybe a Power Infusion, this and the other, right? You can do a lot of damage. Also, Power Infusion is good to use on yourself sometimes in PvP. But if you're going in there in a pre-made scenario, so this is like this spec right here is more of a pre-made scenario, right? Huge added bonus to say a Elemental Shaman or a Palm Pyromage or something like that, right? Just awesome. Just so if you're the offensive priest in the group, you're going with your offense and you're going to go kill the flag carrier, and you give that to your Elemental Shaman or your mage.
He will love you, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, they will love you, absolutely. And if you're in trouble and you're about to die and need some extra healing, you can also give it to yourself. So I really like something like the spec, where you have the 1 point in Blessed Recovery. And sometimes using a max rank Holy Nova, if you're getting hit and you can't, use a flash shield or something like that, you can get a pretty good heal off from a Holy Nova if you have a lot of bonus healing and stuff like that. So it's very mana inefficient, but if you need that little quick heal, whatever, sometimes to do some damage and to also help heal yourself, it can be very nice. Also, it's really nice to use rank 1 to get rogues out of stealth, or any other stealthy. And then yes, it can still be used for farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's basically I usually always take those talents which I can use for farming purposes. It's quite stupid to respec all the time for that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly. So
okay,
and
seems
I
cool.
really the healing focus there is like a lot of people say, oh, it's not that good. I mean, a 70% chance to avoid interruption while healing is huge, especially in PvP. You're getting hit a lot. You're going to want as much help as you can. And I'd also recommend if you can put another point in martyrdom there. So, I mean, I like having at least 1 point in there. So 1 point with healing focus is nice. Some people would say, no, I'm going to put 2 points in there. So they'll take a point sometimes out of improved powered shield. I'm sorry, improved fortitude, or take a point out of well, improved powered fortitude would be the point I would take it out of, honestly. Just because sometimes the reason why I would do that is because there are usually a priest in there with it with improved powered fortitude. So sometimes if there's another priest in your group with improved powered fortitude and you know they have it, you could go ahead and do that. But it's sometimes it's a good amount of it's 30%, another 50% on top of your powered fort. So it could be more beneficial to have that little bit extra stat.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so this would be my spec personally.
So, as you said, this would be a pre-made spec.
Yeah,
You would change it a little bit, I guess, if you would just play yourself solo in world PvP a
absolutely,
little bit.
totally change it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
then
yeah.
again, I'm thinking now that would you change it? Because most of the time you're probably gonna do with the pre-made. So and it's the cost of respecking every time you want to do something else, it's
Oh,
ridiculously
absolutely.
high.
Yeah. So the only chance I really changed it if it was like I knew I was going into like a dueling tournament or something like that, and you wanted to be more survival or something like that, as like a 1-on-1. But honestly, like you could stay the spec and be good because you have a lot of the defensive capabilities. You have some of the offensive capabilities. I think this spec right here at level 60, like I said, you can take a point out of improved inner focus if you're more I'm sorry, inner fire if you want that improved mana burn instead. Which, depending on a lot of people will do that. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think it's sometimes depending on what pre-made you're going into or whatever, it may be more beneficial to have that point to improve mana burn or not. But in the beginning, like I said, when you're low in armor and you don't have a lot of gear, that's when the improved inner fire really comes and helps out. So once you start to get more geared, you have a lot of people. Say you have like all of your gear up. Say you're like rank 10 in PvP, right? Then I would maybe take a point out of improved inner fire and put that into mana burn instead.
Okay,
But
cool.
other than that, that's what I would keep it. Yeah.
Would you ever go something like something with Force of Will and then something with Holy Specialization fully maxed out, so you have
Yeah.
like
So
10% extra crit? Yeah.
yeah, so you could do something like I've actually tried that spec before, where I went basically I would go Unbreakable Will, the same stuff basically, to get down there and improve mana burn, mental strength, and then you can have 4 or 5 points of mental in force of will. Um, I usually would do 4 just because you want that point in divine spirit as well. Or you could, either way, but yeah, so you could do that. And also, there were some people who tried to do something like that and made a smite spec. So you can go holy specialization, divine fury.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, but again, like when I look at this, right, and I see me trying to go offensive, I'm like, why wouldn't I just go shadow? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yes, you could maybe heal a little bit better in this instance, but to me, every time I think about it, like an offensive discipline or holy spec, I'm like, well, it would just be better to go shadow. Discipline is more about survivability, right? More about keeping yourself and your teammates alive as much as possible and as long as possible. Whether that's the added so more intellect obviously is better, right? Because that's more heals you can put out. More armor obviously is better, right? A stronger powered shield, obviously. All these kind of things, more stamina. All these things add to your survivability. So the discipline tree is much more about surviving than it is, adding, healing or this, that, and the other. That's why it's so good at PvP.
Well, the Smite spec really looks like something
It is a lot of fun.
interesting, but
It
yeah,
is.
I
I'll tell you
guess
this.
the damage
It's
is
a lot of
little bit
fun,
low.
but then I tried it. I tried it. I tried it on a private server. I tried it on. So I've played Priest, on private servers in multiple places at level 60. The Smite spec was not as strong as I thought it was going to be, honestly.
What if you if you pair it with the Retribution Paladin and the Sanctity Aura, would it help?
That, well, I never had that experience because I didn't play Alliance, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
could help. Yeah. That could help. Yeah.
That would be a flat 10%
yeah.
damage increase, right? So.
Yeah, because that would be holy aura. So right, so that could be worth it. I mean, you would have to be in the range of your paladin at all times to keep the aura. So
Yeah.
is it how many range? How much? What's the range? Is it 30
It's
yards?
30 yards. Yes.
Okay, so that's not bad. Yeah.
It's a little.
That would be worth trying. I think
I think you're lagging a little bit. Is that possible?
Yeah, I get the same here.
Okay.
Probably matter on downloading some porn.
Yeah, Belron's probably on Discord or something, or whatever he's doing. He could be uploading a video or something. Hopefully it comes back in a second. Am I still lagging at or?
Yeah, your camera froze a little bit, but I can still hear you, so that's...
You got AC in the States, but you don't got good internet.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so Papa Moon, any questions left?
No, except the previous gear.
Yeah, we should go a little bit into the gearing, I think, yeah.
Absolutely, I have, and also guys, if you want to look at the pre-bis gear set that I have up, highly recommend going to Classic Wild Out Live.
We'll do that.
Yeah, I have a whole basically tier 1. So this is for phase 1, right? Now phase 1 gearing is going to be a lot different than phase. This is all for before Dire Maul comes out. So a lot of people are like, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? All for phase 1. You got to remember, a lot of gear was not available in phase 1. That's available later on. A lot of people, I would get comments like, "Oh, you're missing the shoulders of whatever," which are there's 2 shoulders that dropped in BRD that came out in like 1.11, 1.12. They will not be available at launch, but there's a lot of cool gear that was since we're getting the progressive itemization. There's a lot of cool gear that was pretty much shitty during all of vanilla, and then became really good. So that's the link I just put in there for it. I don't know if it's.
I think I need to make you moderator. That's Maldron in the chat, isn't it?
No, it's me. It's Defcamp. Yeah, it's both of us. Yeah. So basically, for healing, right? For what you're going to be doing in your you're going to want the following year. I don't know if you want to pull up the list as well, Dunedain.
Yeah. How do you have a link to that?
Oh, it's both of us. Yeah, here I can link it in chat. Yeah. In our chat.
I think I made you moderator for the channel.
Oh, okay. Let's try it again.
We'll do the same with Papa Moon.
There it is. Okay, cool.
It is your brother on.
Yeah, it's both of us. I didn't notice that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you want to open it up, I can go over with you guys and
yeah.
About it. You got it.
I think. Does it show on the stream well like this?
Let's see. Let me see. Yep. Awesome. Oh, you just get looks good. Just scroll up. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So number 1, the top there, you see Cassandra's Grace, right? This is basically the only option, as far as I know, that we will have in phase 1. And there are some other options. I'm not gonna lie. There are some other things, but as far as the best piece you can get, it is a BOE. Usually they're pretty. I've seen them pretty often in the auction house in phase 1, and you should be able to get it. It gives 44 added healing, 7 stam, 9 spirit. As you see here, there's a lot of gear that doesn't have a lot of intellect and stuff like that. This is why mental strength is very, very nice in phase 1. So there you go. That's Cassandra's Grace.
So it's a world drop, but does it drop a little bit more from a particular mob somewhere?
I had a drop for me in Fellwood.
Okay.
I don't know where else but it pretty much drops wherever like level 40 to 50ish, 45 to 50ish.
Okay, cool.
Around there, and has pretty high drop rate. Yeah, so Fellwood, stuff like that. Just a great item. So I recommend definitely trying to go ahead and get this piece over, like say saving money for your mount, because it's such a good headpiece.
Oh yeah.
You basically won't replace this until you're the headpiece from Onyxia. So that's very very good.
Nice.
For your neck, there really isn't a good neck until animated chain necklace comes out, which came out in patch 1.3, so it'll be phase 2. That's the necklace that gives plus a good amount of plus healing. But before that, there's Tooth of Nar, which is pretty decent, right?
Yeah,
Gives
it's the same
14
for Paladin,
intellect.
I think.
Yeah. Gives 14 intellect, 8 stam. That's a huge amount of intellect and stam, and 3 MP5. So MP5, people think, oh, spirit for priests is another. MP5 is still hugely important for priests. Spirit is definitely very, very, very nice as well. But you do not want to just say, oh, MP5, it's not for me. It's whatever. No, MP5 is static. That is mana regenerating every 5 seconds, whether you're in or out of the 5-second rule. So MP5 is hugely important for priests as well. A lot of people make that mistake and say, "Oh, it's got MP5 on it. It's not for me." No, it's for you as well. And there's a lot of gear that has Spirit and MP5, which of course is even better.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
Then for shoulder, you have 4 options.
Shoulders, you've got some options here. Now, a lot of these shoulders were not that great back in the day, but since we're having the 1.12 itemization, they became better. The unfortunate thing about every single piece of gear, these shoulders here, is that they are for damage and healing, right?
I see.
Later on, there came out the Mantle of Fate, or I forget what it was called, Mantle something from BRD, but again, that's not available until I think patch 1.11 or so, or 1.10. So everything that you have in phase 1, now again, this is before Dire Maul, whatever, is one of these options here that's either DPS or healing. So Elder Wizard's Mantle is very nice. It's a BOE as well that has 20 intellect. So 11 damage and healing plus 20 intellect. Kentic Armor gives 13 intellect, 5 stamina, 6 spirit, and 14 damage and healing, and that drops in BRD. Sunderseer Mantle gives 17 int, 4 stam, 11 spirit, but only gives 8 damage and healing. That's from a rare in LBRS, yeah. And the Devout Mantle is 0. Now the only reason why I have Devout Mantle up here, stuff like that, is because if you go ahead and get, like, say you have like 4 pieces of it by chance, you can get the bonus that gives 23 healing.
23, yeah. I don't think it shows on the stream, but indeed, it's 23 healing. Yeah.
It's 23 healing. Now, I would definitely say this is probably the last thing, but if you get it, definitely use it. Keep it over green or so. And it gives a high amount of intellect. And say if you have 4 pieces of it, it might be worth something.
So they are in the Elder Wizard's Mantle is the best and Devout Mantle is the worst. So is that right? Or can you switch them except for the Devout Mantle?
Yeah. They're kind of they're not really in a specific order, honestly.
Okay.
For the main thing, I would go for, I think the easiest one would definitely be a High Interrogator Gershon, the Kentic Armor. Probably the easiest one for you to get. And I think Elder Wizard Mantle is just really nice because it has a lot of intellect, but 13 int, 5 stam, 6 spirit is pretty nice as well. So yeah.
And it has a little bit more healing and it has 3 more healing. So yeah. Okay.
So for back, pretty rough until we get Hide of the Wild, which will it takes a little bit longer, but I think that'll be out hopefully phase 2 as well. But before that, there's not many options. You have the Raincaster Drape I think is very nice, honestly. It gives 22 plus healing. That's even though it only gives plus 9 stat, that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Now the Archivist Cape, I forget how much plus healing it gets, but it's a random enchant. So it's only a chance that you would get the healing version of it, right? So it would be the Archivist Cape of healing. I forget exactly how much healing it gets, but it also gives a 4 MP5 on there. So that would be very nice if you can get lucky and get that. But other than that, you definitely want to do the Rise of Machine quests and get the Raincaster Drape. So,
okay. Yeah. Cool.
And
that
then,
would be the same
chest.
For Paladins, I guess, as well.
It's pretty much the same for every healer. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Chest, here we go. Obviously, the True Faith Vestments. This is why you go tailoring for a priest. You can see just how good this is here, guys. This is only for priests. It gives 14 stam, no intellect, no spirit, but look at those stats. It increases healing done by spells by 73.
That's huge.
And gives 6 MP5.
How long does this stay best in slot?
What's that? Until 2.5 usually. So I actually had this all the way until. So some people will replace it for tier 2, depending if they're going the full tier 2 set. So there are some added bonuses. So the tier 2 actually has less healing, but it has the tier set bonuses, right? Which can be nice. So some people go ahead and get all the pieces of tier 2, which gives it puts a renew on the target when you use greater heal, which can be very, very nice. But a lot of people will actually keep True Faith until for a long time. So you're going to be having this chest piece. Get used to it. You're going to have it for a long fucking time, but it's amazing. It's awesome. So the great thing about this as well is, once you get the pattern, and say if you have the pattern, or you can get the pattern in the auction house, you can have someone make it for, well, it's bind on pickup. So you need to either make it yourself or get the actual pattern is BOE. So you can buy the pattern in the auction house or get it for yourself from the last boss, and what's his name, the demon guy in Strat or Scott, I forget what his freaking name is. But so the awesome thing about this is when you drop tailoring, if you decide to drop tailoring afterwards, you can still use it. So you don't have to actively have tailoring to use it.
How much gold would it cost to buy the pattern?
Ooh, it depends on what point of vanilla. I've seen it up for 300 gold. I've seen it up for more, for less. Around 250 to 300, I think usually is what I used to see it for, but I don't remember. It could be completely different for.
And then you need the materials.
It could be 500. Okay. Yes, exactly. So then you need the materials. It's not that hard to get. I mean, you could get it pretty. I'm wondering what exactly the. Trying to find what exactly the drop rate is on it.
So you use this website to make those kind of builds, right? There's a tool on the website where you can make your own builds if you want. I think it's on the tools list somewhere. Yeah. And then you can click on the class you want. And I think it's totally up to date. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So it would show the right patch if you click on the right patch.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And then you can work it from there. And it's sometimes you just have to go around and check it, but it's very, very, very.
So you can check the patch over here. I'm not quite sure if it shows on the stream, but okay.
So from what I remember, so it drops from Balnazar in Strat. So it's the other side of Strat. What you have to do, the thing about it, it's around a 3% drop rate. So it's definitely not the highest, but it's not impossible to get, right? That's why it doesn't sell for like 1,000 gold, because it is, not impossible to get. I unfortunately had to buy it in the auction house, but my guild helped me buy it because it's such an amazing, piece of gear. So sometimes your guild can help you, but don't fret. Like if you're not a tailor and you don't want to do tailoring, or even if you're not a priest, there is a very other good alternative which drops from the undead side of Strat, from Baron Rivendare, which is the Robes of the Exalted, which give 68 plus healing, 5 and 11 spirit. So this is a pretty decent alternative. Really, really, really good chess piece. You'll see shamans with it, you'll see druids with it, and you'll see paladins with it. There's literally no alternative for plate, leather, or mail. It is that good. So the only problem is every freaking healer is going to try and get this chess piece. I actually had it for a while on my priest until I said, screw this, I'm going to go tailoring to get the True Faith, even after I had it, because True Faith is just, even though it has no intellect and no spirit, I mean, that's 73 plus healing plus 6 MP5 and reduces the cooldown of your fade by 2 seconds, which can be very nice in certain scenarios. It's just too good to pass up.
It's the typical look. You can see it on the stream right now. So.
Oh, yeah.
You see a lot of healers walk around with this.
Yes,
for quite a while, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you get the true, what's called the true, the True Faith over a mount? Before that?
Personally, I would, because I look at it this way, right? I personally would get any BOEs over a mount because it's going to help my guild, and my guild can help me get gold, right? So that's the way I look at it. I think BOEs tend to be more important for me. Also, I would try to get it as a drop. I would run it multiple times, because you're going to be running Strat a lot, even though you're not going to be running that side of Strat that much, because Balnazar is on the opposite side of where Baron is. You're still going to be running Strat a lot. So I would try to get it first, but yeah, I would definitely get like at least the True Faith and maybe your Cassandra's Grace first, and then start working on the gold for your mount, right? That's what I would do.
Okay.
After that, we have bracers. There's really no bracers in Phase 1 that give plus healing. However, there are a lot of bracers that give a lot of fucking intellect and shit like that. So, Magic Skull bracers, BOE world drop. Everything here is pretty much BOE drops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's- yeah.
Magiskull, 17 intellect, 7 stem. Aristocratic cuffs, 15 intellect, 6 spirit. Devout bracers give 10 int, 7 spirit, 10 int, 7 stem, 10 spirit. And remember, if you have other pieces of this, you could potentially have 23 plus healing.
Hmm.
And of course, the Magister's Bindings, which is just the
The
mage
mage one.
equivalent as well.
So
Yeah, which
priest
pretty
is
nice as well.
actually one of the classes which can still go for the dungeon set.
Yeah, for a couple
Yeah.
pieces. Yep.
That's kind of I always like getting those sets. So if it's a little bit
Yeah.
useful as well, it's another.
I mean,
bonus.
you'll see as well too. Like, there's things like the Devout Belt. So if you get, say, the Devout Belt, the bracers, and the shoulders, it might be worth getting maybe one more piece depending on what it is to try to get to 23. But most times it usually isn't. But you know what? If you get unlucky and you don't get anything else and you have those pieces, go ahead and use them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it depends on what you have. So these gloves right here after this are literally, I mean, they're good for, phase 2 best in slot. There's some gear in here that's going to be even best in slot in phase 2, and right here one of those is Hands of the Exalted Herald. These gloves are just amazing. They give 13 intellect, 12 spirit, and 33 bonus healing.
Yeah.
Drops from the High Priestess Tharisan, who also drops a lot more gear for you as well. So you're going to be running lava runs, BRD a lot to try to get the High Priestess and to kill the last boss in BRD, because they pretty much drop. You'll see a lot of this is BRD. Pretty much, like I said, 70% of what you're going to want is from BRD. So you're going to be doing that. So yeah, these gloves are amazing. Another option would be the Atalai gloves, which are a random enchantment. So you can actually get the plus healing plus like the plus. It's like weird. You can get
Okay.
the healing version of these plus the 9 or some shit like that.
And how
I've never
much
gotten
would it be?
I think it adds up to actually be a little bit more around the same Hands of the Exalted. I'm entirely sure, but it's very, it's one of those things where, like, if you're doing Sunken Temple and you happen to do it, that's why I put it on there. You might get them, but other than that, you're going to get Hands of the Exalted Herald either way. So,
Okay.
next up we have our belts. So you really only have a few options here. Ghostweave belt, I put it on there because it does have 8 int plus 6 MP5, which can be very nice. 6 MP5 is pretty high, especially on a tailoring BOE. I put it up there because it might be a little bit tougher to get the other items here, which, the Devout Belt won't be that hard, but the Dust Feather Sash, it's really good, but again, it's a item for both DPS and healers, so sometimes it could be hard. You just have to tell your guild, listen, I'm going to roll in this because there literally is no other other option. It gives 18 intellect, 10 stam, which are really great stats, and it gives 9 healing and
But
DPS.
the belt is like one of the perfect slots to pick a devote piece, right? So you can try and get the 4-set bonus.
Exactly. So right there, you get 20 intellect from the Devout Belt, 4 stam, and 9 spirit. And if you have 3 other pieces, you would have the 20. So that could be possible for you to get that there.
I'm just wondering, the 6 mana per 5, so the 6 MP5, how much spirit does it roughly translate to?
I used to know the conversion rates. I don't remember. I don't remember the conversion rate.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure 6 MP5 though would be a considerable amount of spirit. So around 20 or so, maybe a little bit less than 20 or so, if I'm trying to remember correctly. But it's hard to kind of put it exactly, because spirit for priests also can translate into spell power.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do a conversion rate for priests straight out.
So Devout Belt actually has almost half of the MP5 in spirit, and then a little bit of plus healing from the spirit, and a lot
that's
more
only if you
intellect.
have spiritual guidance is the talent point for that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It would depend. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I see. Okay.
So these the next ones, which is really interesting because I actually had to double check this to make sure that this was going to be working like that. So we all know, I think a lot of people have run, Dire Maul North and gotten Padres like a lot, that those are really, really great legs, but of course they're not available till, patch 2. So your other option, apparently, and I actually, like I said, I just lost a page for a second, are these right here, the Senior Designer's Pantaloons, which they got upgraded around patch 1.10 or 1.11, but before that, they were nowhere near this. So They give 7 int, 8 stam, and 18 spirit, and increase healing done by 40. So before that, they were like I think they were. I'm trying to get the stats. They gave a pretty good amount of spirit, this and the other, but they gave nothing like what they do.
That's
So the fact that
actually
they
pretty
give this
huge.
now,
Wow.
this is a huge bonus. This is something that the change in the itemization had definitely helped Priest a lot because of this. So yeah, other than that, now they're like I said, they're going to be almost as good as Padres. I think Padres give. Let me try to see exactly the Padres pantaloons. Um, so I'm pretty sure you will still get Padres over this.
Mhm.
Let me just double check. Uh, here we go. Oh, I can't find it now. Well, yeah.
I have him over here.
Oh, you do? How much did it? Yeah, Padres.
Can you see it? Like this. It has 20 intellect, 7 mana, 7 MP5, and 43 healing.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to get Padres at phase 2, but
Yeah.
Senior Designers pantaloons are very, very good as well. So that's a huge bonus to having the itemization there for priests. So I would definitely
It's not that much of a difference, right? It's basically more intellect.
more intellect and more you get MP5 as well.
Yeah,
Right,
a little bit.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the spirit it's 18 spirit, so that
It's 18 spirits, so that's something to take. So if you have, it's something to take into consideration. It might be. I think Padres still are a little bit better,
will be
but
very close, I think.
but it's also
Yeah.
how much intellect? 20 intellect.
It's
you
20
said?
intellect, so that's
That's
quite
a huge intellect difference. Yeah. So that I would say Padres are a
Yeah.
little bit better
Yeah.
than the Senior Designers pantaloons, but this the Designers pantaloons are very good for
Yeah.
when you get them. So another option would be Sky Shroud, which is what I thought was going to be the only option until I found the Senior Designers and found out they would be upgraded. But which is nice because Sky Shroud DPS are going to be going like crazy because they give a huge amount of DPS and healing. 34, 8 int, 8 stam. So if you're going Shadow, this would be a good option, right?
Yeah.
That's just secondary, and then you have Ghost Weave, which are they're 12 int and 8 MP5, so that's actually a lot of MP5, pretty good amount of intellect. And then Spirit Shroud are 16 int, 13 stam, 16 spirit. But definitely the best option here is Senior Designers pantaloons for a priest.
So you say they will be updated, but there's still a slight chance they won't be. Is that right?
For what we know, like that they will be. They came
Okay.
out and said that
Um,
but the only difference is we will
can you
not
say
have.
it again because it
So
went
yeah,
out
the
for
1.12 itemization. So as long as something was available in phase 1, right? No, even so, for a good example, Senior Designers pantaloons in phase 1, they, however, had much different stats. Didn't have plus healing, had spirit, stam, and intellect. That's it. But since they were available in phase 1 and later got upgraded, we are going to get the upgraded version.
Okay.
But for something that was added later, so for example, say, the
Girdle?
automated chain neck, animated chain necklace, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't available until patch 1.3. We will get that in phase 2 because phase 2 would be approximate the time around 1.3 came out, and it will be in its updated version because I think it did change at some point a little bit, not much. So anything that came out later will come out in its relative patch, but anything that came out in the beginning of WoW will come out in its updated version.
Everything, because I thought they said some of them would still be the old version, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. All right.
Good.
Now going next to the boots.
Yeah.
Omnicast is definitely your best option here. As far as how much, and again though, it's going to be a difficult one because damage and healing. 9 int, not much int, not much stam, but a good amount of damage and healing. You also have the Mooncloth, which are pretty nice. 14 int, 11 stam, 13 spirit. So that's a okay alternative. Ogre Seer Tower boots are pretty good as well. Pretty much same stats. So that's something where I think it's going to be hard to get those boots, but I think they're definitely worth it for a.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would definitely go for that. Forgering's Ring. This is the In Dreams quest line. This is huge ring here. 37, 5 and 4 stam.
Again, same
so
for
this,
all healers, right?
yeah, same for all healers. All healers are going to want this. This actually did change in the course of vanilla, so it used to give a little less healing and it gave no stats back when it came out in phase 1, and it got updated, I think, in patch like 1.4 or so. So we will be getting the updated version of it in the beginning, so which is the 5 and 4 stat 37.
Mm-hmm.
Huge ring right there. Your other rings right here. So all these two rings are definitely pretty much equal on par of each other. However, one is a BOE, the other is from a quest chain, the Eye of Orgrimmar or the Songstone of Ironforge. Definitely do these quests while going through BRD so you can get these rings. They're pretty good. 7 int 4 spirit and increases damage and healing done by 18. And
So they are exactly the same, I see. Okay.
Yeah, they're exactly the same. There's a Horde version and an Alliance.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty fun quest in BRD. The only other option would be Maiden Circle, which is a BOE, which used to be crap when it first came out, and then it got updated to give damage and healing. So we'll have that version of it. But if you're lucky, you can get that. It's a little bit better than Eye of Orgrimmar because it gives more spirit, and obviously it gives a little bit more spirit, same amount of intellect. But yeah, it's not a huge difference. So.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, it's basically the same. Okay.
Yep.
And
So
then we have the trinkets. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely want to go for these trinkets here. Obviously your Dire Maul trinket won't be available yet, so the Priest Dire Maul trinket is really good, but it's not going to be available, right? So you're going to have to go for Second Wind, which honestly you would have anyway. It's a huge, amazing trinket. Pretty easy to get from Golden Lord Argylmech. It's 22 plus healing, and it also has an on use every 15 minutes, can restore 30 mana every 1 second for 10 seconds. So it's 300 mana every 15 minutes. Pretty good. And then, of course, Briarwood Reed, which is going to be sought after from DPS and healers alike. Gives 29 damage and healing, and it is only from Jed, which is a rare in Ubers. But something about this a lot of people don't realize is you can tactically try to find Jed by using multiple people to go in there and say, okay, yeah, we have Jed on this one, we have Jed on this one. So what you do is you would split up the groups, split up your raid or whatever, how many people are going in there, 15. Try to find a Jed on each individual's one, and then go into the one that's Jed. So that's basically how you do it. So that way you can guarantee to have Jed each run. But yeah, this is going to be pretty difficult to get because a lot of people are going to want this. So yeah,
it's considerably worse than the Second Wind, in my opinion.
Well, it gives a little bit more healing, but it doesn't have the on use, right? Yeah.
But it's 15-minute cooldown, so yeah.
Yeah, 15
that's
minute
once a
cooldown,
boss
so,
fight
yeah.
actually. So okay.
Yeah. And like I said, yeah, once you get the Dire Maul, you'll have the other trinket from Dire Maul. So weapons. So I found something very interesting, which is the fact that Hammer of Grace with Thaurissan's Royal Scepter is very good. So you'll have the Hammer of Grace, which drops from the 7 Dwarf encounter in BRD, which is a pretty fun fight. There's a chest up there, and then hopefully you get the Hammer of Grace in there. And with that, that's going to be sought after by a lot of other healers as well. Pretty much all of the healers.
So, yeah.
So the Spirit of Aquamentus is decent. A lot of people say it was good before it was changed. It's a good offhand to have, while you're leveling, if you can get that. But the best offhand you want to get is definitely going to be Emperor Dagger and Thaurissan's Royal Scepter.
Oh yeah.
So this was crap before it was updated later, and we'll have the updated. Gives 5 int, 5 stam, 10 spirit, and increases healing done by 22. But there is a very for priests. If you don't want to get both items, or if you have trouble getting both, there's almost equal alternative, which is the Guiding Staff of Wisdom, which also drops off of the Emperor. It has
that's a lot of BRD running, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of BRD running right there. So it has 11 stam, 10 spirit, 10 frost resistance, and 53 plus healing, which actually is exactly how much the scepter and hammer would give together. So same amount of healing. Yeah. The only difference is the scepter and the hammer of grace has 5 intellect that you would not have
Okay.
on the staff. So I think the hammer and the scepter are a little bit better. I mean, it's not like huge difference, but they're a little bit better. But you can go ahead and get the staff if you don't want to.
And you get the
the
frost resistance, which is totally useless.
Yeah, totally useless. Yeah, except for maybe in PvP it might
Yeah,
help
maybe,
get some
maybe.
frost mages, but. So for wands, I'm still not 100%. I'm pretty sure though the plus healing green wands will be available. But if they're not available at launch, these would be two other options: Bone Creeper Stylus, which gives 11 damage and healing, or Storm Rager, which just gives instant stat.
Okay.
But yeah, so the plus healing green wands should be available at launch. Not confirmed about that yet, so I haven't updated. I have to be on there.
You say greens? Where would we find them? Is it the world drop then?
So they're world drop. Yeah, they're
Okay.
sometimes you can get them in dungeons. They drop a lot. High level places. It's just basically like Dragon Finger of healing, or certain blah 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 of healing kind of ones, and that's pretty much your option there. So.
So that's a
Yeah,
very
that's phase one.
good guide. So
Thank you.
I was making a best in slot list for paladins, but I need to change a little because I made it actually before they confirmed the itemization. So yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot more items that were upgraded because when I first started playing, I played on my rogue and all, but I'd never got like all the good gear anyway. And when I played on private servers, it was a progressive private server, so the gear was how it was in 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and I'd never got until like 1.12 when all the stuff was updated and all that. So I had to do this research and see, was this one piece available at launch, and if it was, what was it changed to? And so things like for example, the staff there, the guiding staff of wisdom, for a long time it just gave like a shitload of stam and spirit, right? That was it. And now it's upgraded to 53 healing. I think that was upgraded like at 1.12 or something like that at 1.10. So that's a huge difference of something that I had to look at and see. And the way that they said that vanilla is going to be, that should be available right there at the beginning. So that's a huge upgrade for priest there. So.
Okay, cool. So Papa MooNN, are you ready to tank me through BRT and straight home?
I'm not going in there. Forget about it.
Oh, come on, man.
Okay, I actually know I need to get some items in there. So as long as I haven't gotten those, you can tag
You need
along.
Iron Foe, right? You need your Iron Foe. So, dude, I heard Iron Foe's gonna be even harder.
It really depends if I'm going dwarf or going human. Because you can get better as a human. But if I'm going dwarf, as I'm thinking I am, because of the remove poison, world PvP, and the AQ.
Oh yeah.
It's I'm still like in debating with myself, like, should I go human? Should I go dwarf? Maybe I'm even rolling a druid for a starter. I don't know yet. It's like, we need to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, druids are gonna be great. I mean, if you watch that GMA with Scar, that was so good, wasn't it?
If you want to change to a druid, you are obviously free to do that, right?
Yeah.
I'll just grind the money for everything. So.
But I think it will take more time to roll an entirely new class and grind money for another one, I think. So, Meldoran posted a link in the chat, but I think he's not working.
Oh, it's the
itemization. I have it here. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, this was the website that I used to check to make sure
See
that
if this won't work.
were available at the launch or not.
And is the Classic Crowded Live tool, is it up to date with this itemization.info?
Yes. So this website right here, Dunedain, so you can check and see if things were available at launch or not. So it says exactly what patch certain. So if you type in Padres Pantaloons there on the itemization.io, if you were to put them in there, it'll let you know what patch they came out and if they were changed thereafter. I see. If you want to put like forging the forging seal, it'll show you what it looked like when it first came out, and then what it looked like when it got changed. So if it doesn't have a patch there, underneath it, that means it came out in the beginning. So
okay, that's interesting.
There you go. Padres. It says it came out in patch 1.3. That's what it looked like. And now here you go. So forging seal has no patch, which means it was launched. It came out in the beginning, and then it was upgraded to that. So that means that in Phase 1 in vanilla will have the. That's a very good site. It's the only site that I could find that actually showed you what patch everything came out and all that.
And Classic WoW Live actually says it has one more healing. That's strange.
From what is it? The updated one, 37 or was it
Yeah.
38?
Wait, 1 point. It's wrong. There's something wrong on Classic WoW Live.
See, the Classic WoW Live one is linking out from Wowhead, so that means either Wowhead or
As I could figure out, Wowhead wasn't as accurate as Itemization was.
Yeah. So itemization.io I think might be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just that's just linking out to so it's not that our this is long because we don't have our own database yet.
Classic WoW Live is still well, I think it doesn't show the older versions if it doesn't matter for Classic WoW.
Right, it wouldn't matter, right? Because you're not going to have them. But it's that itemization.io is specifically for someone looking at the changes and this and the other.
Actually,
but
Defcamp, about the Classic WoW, I would actually love if you implemented on the website that it counts the set bonuses if you equip it to the gear to the stats beneath, because it doesn't do that right now.
Right. So what do you mean? Like,
let's say you get the Boots of Valor and the Chest of Valor. It gives a set bonus, but it doesn't implement on the stats beneath.
Oh, I got you. Right.
That would be really great, because then you could actually figure it
Mm-hmm.
around with the gear and see if you take these two pieces compared to the other ones, is it worth or is it not?
Yeah, that's a really actually I think because that is
cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Al is working on something like that. He just has to implement it in there, and once we get our own database and all, it'll be much easier to do. But yeah, it's definitely something that we're trying to work on getting. So like right now, you would have to add that yourself afterwards. But yeah, we definitely the idea is to have that on there as well as on the tool, so you can see what it would be like with the with the added bonuses and all. Because like I said, like certain things give huge bonuses, whether it's to damage or certain I know for priest example, like you get extra MP5 this that, or added to the meditation bonus. So yeah, that would be ideally our next step for that.
But it's still a very useful tool. I used it a little bit already, so it's really nice. Okay, I think Papa MooNN, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually I wrote something down here.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people doing pre-bis gear guides. What about the bis gear guide for when you get to the molten core? Why is there not any of those guides on the classic WoW.live?
Oh, yet? There are. There's just I haven't done it for mine yet. So if you go for the shaman, the shaman one has done. So for my guide in particular, I only did phase 1, so far. But the shaman guide has all. He has. If you go to the egregious guide, he literally has every phase of vanilla. So pre-raid phase 1, pre-raid phase 2, phase 2. He has every step of the way for shaman. I just haven't done it. Haven't done mine yet. So
did Muldrod put something up for the protection shaman? Or
for so all that comes down to Papa MooNN is just people putting the doing the work. That's just we need more people to put their so if like you for example were interested in helping out with like a warrior one, you could put yours on there because everything on our site is done by the community. So like if someone in the community were to create their own guide and put it on there, they can put it on their site and all like that. So that's what we're working. That's the idea of the website, is for the community to come together, work together, and share everything. Because for some people may know the information and they want to share that with someone else. Classic WoW Live is the tool to be able to put that up there. So
okay. The second thing is what is your feelings about the beta now it's ending, and how did you feel when you were playing it?
So I was kind of in the camp of doing it. Like I wasn't going to be an open beta. I was worried about things like the hype and things like how the beta was going to feel for some people who never played Classic before, who were only getting like part of it. But all in all, I was kind of happy with how the developers took the information that we gave them, implemented it. There are some things that I'm not too happy about, like layering this and the other. I know it's kind of like there's only so many things we could do. This is many options, but all in all, I was very impressed with the level um, of just contact that the developers were having with us, talking to us, giving us the information. I'm pretty much very, very, very happy with like I'd say 95% of everything that would happen in the beta as far as like mechanics. I know a lot of people aren't happy about like melee leeway and bashing and things like that. I think some of that stuff could be a little tuned up a little bit, but I think their idea was they wanted it to. The idea is good because they want to represent what Classic felt like. You know what I mean? And that's what they're trying to do. And I think when I got into the beta and I realized just how much of an undertaking it was and how much work that is going into it, I definitely kind of was surprised that just how much has to go on. Like for every little class, shamans have so many things going on. This class has so many things going on, and to realize that they were actively working on it. You would log on a month later, certain things were changed. This was changed. This was different. It felt good knowing that the community was helping, the development of the game, right? That what we had to say and what we were doing could reach and have an impact on the actual developers. I think that part of it was awesome. However, I do think that it may have hurt the hype a little bit for some people. A lot of people looked at it, got the wrong idea of it because, listen, a lot of people weren't invited to the beta. It was very, limited to how many people were in there. And I think a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth because of that. So as far as damage that was caused by the beta, I think there was some damage. But I think overall, we're in a better place now for Classic because of it. I am happy that the beta ended where it did. As much as I really wanted to test things like Ragnaros, like Onyxia, like a lot of boss fights, like the mechanics and the armor contributions and shit like that, I understand that it wouldn't have been good for the actual community because I think that would have just taken even more hype away. I think actually hurt the launch of the game more than anything. So I'm pretty happy with how everything is. I'm not a developer, so I don't know, what it's like to have all these undertakings and what it's kind of like to, try and implement something like layering and what you have to work out against. But, I can criticize it as much as I think I can and try to add give a alternative. But at the end of the day, I think these guys are definitely giving vanilla some justice. I think they have the right idea. I definitely think they have the right idea. And it's nice that as the community members and people I got to tell you how many times people on my stream noticed things or gave, their input. So even though these people weren't playing in the beta, they still had their input given into the game. So I think that was pretty cool.
Okay, because I was feeling like that the hype died down a bit after the beta because all the streamers got invited and most people who doesn't stream didn't get invited, and the streamers just completed tunnel vision on the game instead of on getting the hype, keep building the hype like Kargos did.
Yeah,
I feel like he was really tunnel visioning on his play with Narvik, but in a good way. But still, like the hype died down, and it wasn't as fun as it used to be. And now we're just waiting for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was
very noticeable in the guild as well. I think the moment the beta started, the hype went up a little bit, but then like a few days after, it really died down a lot. Yeah.
I tried to keep the hype going as much as I could.
Yeah,
man.
I know. You did well, man.
I'm hyped.
But I still think you and Kargos and we hang out a little bit sometimes, and I think you guys you did something else as well, except for streaming the beta. We still did some GMAs and stuff.
And we actually tested the game too, which a lot of streamers didn't. I was very surprised at how many other streamers weren't actually reporting bugs. And if they were kind of very. I mean, no, I don't want to put any judgments out there. Change gear while in combat, just things that So.
I saw that with Swifty. No, I can't flip gear. Oh my god!
I know. I mean, listen, I know it's a time that it's played, but it's just I there are a lot of people out there who really deserve to get the beta. People like Taladrill and these really, really amazing theory crafters that just, and luckily they watched the beta and, gave Maldron and I some options as to what to do and what to look for. So thank God we had that. But, listen, it was definitely, part of it was media to try to get this out to people and this and the other, and it did part of that. But you're absolutely right. The beta, when you have level 40 there for months and there's nothing to do, the hype's going to die down. And no matter how much people try to make it exciting or do this, and we tried, we had certain events and this and the other. I was just excited to log on every day and play the beta. But as the world got emptier and emptier, it was harder to do that. So. I am kind of glad they ended it there, right? Because it would have just got worse if they would have kept it up. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think some people are when it comes to streaming, that's their livelihood, right? So they have to either go with the game that's more popular. So if when 8.2 came out, a bunch of people went to that because that's what they had to do to keep floating, right? To stay alive on their streams. So nothing so much against them as it is they're just trying to keep their livelihood. But there are people out there who were just like I didn't want to. I don't want to stream, BFA. I want to play the game I want to play, but I don't have 10,000 people watching me to tell me to to do something else. So I guess I'm lucky in that essence. But yeah, so but when Classic comes out, man, I'm 40 something days away now. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be amazing. I think it's gonna be awesome. I think we're in for a fucking whirlwind, and it's gonna be absolutely insane and amazing, and I cannot wait to play with you guys.
It just got to me today that when the new school year starts, I will actually be playing Classic WoW. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, it's literally around the corner, and I think it hasn't really set in yet, even playing the beta, because I just can't believe that we're actually this close to it, like the actual release of Classic.
We've been waiting so long.
Yeah. So actually, when we're talking about the release, how do you think the release is gonna go? Is it gonna be like fucking chaos? Is nobody's gonna get on for like 15 hours?
It has to be, right?
It has. I think it's gonna be better than like other releases and other launches, but it's gonna be a shit show. There's gonna be it's gonna be crazy. I think they're underestimating the amount of people. I think they're what I hope doesn't happen, right, is that there aren't enough servers and that they layer people and extensely layering, and then we have this issue of all these layers, these huge servers, and what do we do with this? That's what I don't hope that happens, because that I think will have a long-term effect on the game and a long-term effect on the servers. So in essence, I hope that we have enough servers for people to spread out, have a healthy server on each different realm or whatever. That's what I'm hoping for. So I definitely hope I'm wrong and they do have more servers planned for, because I would hate to see these massive servers with 4 or 5 layers down the road. What do you do with that? They said layers are going to be gone in a month. Well, what are you going to have, these 12,000 populated servers? That's not Classic WoW. Classic WoW is a small community of people playing together. Whether it's 3,000 or 5,000, whenever, 5,000 being definitely more
that's on the high side.
I Classic WoW is uniquely that small. People, you run by someone, that's to me a huge part of what Classic WoW is.
People will know Papa MooNN, the main tank of the guild.
Exactly, and they'll know Dunedain, the Holy Paladin, and they'll know Melderon, the men, the shaman,
Protection shaman.
Who's in love with bags? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I definitely hope that we because the healthier the launch, the healthier the longevity game, honestly, in a lot of ways. There could be a lot of things that happen at the launch that do get fixed and get changed, but I think the launch will be a pretty good approximation to how things are going to go down the line for a little bit. I mean, you can't really base everything based on launch, right? But a healthy launch definitely can lead to a healthier longevity of the game. So I hope the launch goes well.
But I can't think of one good expansion launch from Blizzard that worked 100%.
Yeah.
It's always like either 5 hours queue or nobody got on like the entire first day.
Right.
It was just a shit show.
Yeah. I think was it Wrath of the Lich King or Legion launched pretty good, I think. But I didn't like the launch because it seemed like nothing really launched. Just went to Legion.
I'm pretty sure that those 2 expansions, there was like 5 hours queue time to get in.
Depending on the server, probably.
Well, especially for making a DK, yeah.
Oh,
Like,
did I
what-
say Wrath of the Lich King? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant Warlords
Warlords
or
of Draenor?
Trainer.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that the technology has gotten better to allow more people to play at once and this and another, and I definitely think we're gonna have some issues, and that's okay. But my main concern is the actual like the servers and how they handle putting this many people or this and having massive amounts of people, because I really think they're overestimating the amount of people that are going to leave. Even if some of these people leave, I think a lot of them come back after they play BFA and realize, oh, I'm going to come back to Classic and play that. So I'm kind of worried that they're underestimating the amount of people that are, or I'm sorry, overestimating the amount of people that are actually going to leave Vanilla and not come back. I think they are going to come back for a lot of them, and I think a lot of people are going to stay as well. So I would hope to see more servers so that we can support these larger communities and not have giant realms.
I would hope the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like 1.5 months until Classic comes out.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Until then?
Yeah, until the Classic comes out.
Yeah. So I definitely plan on still streaming. Before the beta came out, I used to do these streams where I would go over, certain specs or certain videos or, talk about certain things. And I definitely want to do that again, maybe play some Warcraft 3. But I definitely want to keep the hype going for Classic. So I'm definitely going to be talking mostly Classic, maybe have stuff like this, have some guests on and talk Classic, talk certain classes.
That's awesome.
I love doing that because it's a great way to talk with the chat and really get a feel for the community and how the community is doing as well. So
and
love
it's great
doing
to
that
listen
kind of
to, man. It's
Yeah,
some of the best
thank you.
things to listen to, either live or later on. It's
Right.
really nice. Yeah.
So yeah, gonna continue doing GMA with Dunedain and
Yeah.
So yeah, gonna keep the hype going as much as we can, man. Absolutely.
Okay,
Good,
cool.
good.
Okay, we are
The
almost
fi-
at the 2 hour mark.
I have
so-
one final question.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
When are you gonna buy a new microphone, Defcamp?
You know what?
That
though?
shit is cutting out every 5 minutes. It's
You know what it
ridiculous.
is? It's not my microphone. It's actually Discord. So my internet is not the greatest. Over Discord, I don't sound great, but if you listen to the streams, it's actually pretty good quality.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So the issue is actually my internet. So we're gonna be moving out soon, and we're gonna because right now we have Wi-Fi. That's the problem.
Oh.
I have a link extender. I have a bunch of stuff. I'm living, with my parents, so I don't have the option to run a fucking wire over where I am right now. So once we get out of here, we'll have. I actually even have another microphone, which is a blue microphone, and it has the same issue over Discord and over the internet. But when I'm actually recording or going on Discord myself, or I'm sorry, going on a live stream myself, it sounds fine. But it's only over Discord, so that should be fixed once we move out, which would be about a month from now. Or actually, less than a month from now. Yeah.
Back to Ventrilo, the old program you used back in Classic. Or Raid Caller, what was it?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Okay.
Okay, I actually don't have any more questions.
Yeah, it has been a good stream.
Awesome.
It's an hour
Yeah,
longer than expected, so that must be good,
That's
right?
good. Yeah, right time I'm about to go get. Perfect.
And he's gone.
Yeah, just get out. So.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm about to go. Yeah, my wife, the green bar keeps on going down to like yellow. It's definitely Discord. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So I would like to thank you for coming to our stream. It was really fun having you on. I like. It was just a very nice stream, and I'd like to thank Defcamp and Meldron, especially also Meldron, for coming into the chat. And I hope, I hope we can play a little bit together when Classic
Absolutely.
comes out. So, okay.
Yeah, don't
Definitely
worry, Tom. We're
plan
gonna Uga gang him.
Okay. So.
Well, I'll be ready for you, brother. I'll be ready for you.
Just wait till 20 female gnome rogues come upon you.
Oh my god.
We meet in the Gocha Inn.
I'll be ready for it, baby. That's
Thanks
it.
for
So,
everyone watching, and if you want to say
Yeah.
something, that it's the last minute now. So, okay, if you have a shout out to anyone.
oh yeah, no, I just Classic Wild Live guys, the channel Defcamp Melderon, and stream on Twitch as well, and give these guys Dunedain, Papa MooNN some love as well. They're great guys. So